Welcome back to the channel. I've done this 3 or 4 times now. Anyway, I hope that you've been enjoying this little trip through the states. Today we're going to be talking about Idaho. I know that I have been enjoying researching the states, especially the trivia portion. I really like doing that. But Idaho, the gem state. It is located in the northwestern part of the United States. That one in red right there. Kind of an odd-shaped state. Anyway, it achieved statehood July 3rd, 1890, making it the 43rd state to join the United States. The capital is Boise, Idaho. The population is 1.8 million people, roughly, making it the 38th most populous state. And then we have an area. Idaho covers about 83,569 square miles, which is roughly 216,443 kilometers squared, making it the 15th largest state in the United States. The 4 largest cities are Boise, Meridian, Nampa, and Idaho Falls. Kind of an interesting thing, the 3 of those 4, Boise, Meridian, and Nampa, they're all really close to each other. It's like the same metropolitan area. Idaho Falls is a little further out, but Boise, Meridian, Nampa. If you live in Boise, you're probably going to be going to Nampa or Meridian and vice versa pretty frequently. They're that close. Idaho history. The area was originally explored by French Canadians. They came down into the area to find fur. The area was claimed by both the British and the United States at the same time. It was then in 1846 that the United States got full control over the area. Parts of Idaho were originally part of Oregon, Washington, and the Dakota territories. The Lewis and Clark expedition was kind of the first attempt to do a lot of the exploratory work, find out more about that particular area. So originally Idaho was part of the Louisiana Purchase, or no, not part of the Louisiana Purchase. The Lewis and Clark expedition was sent to map out a lot of to explore the Louisiana Purchase. President Thomas Jefferson had bought a large swath of land from the French, which became known as the Louisiana Purchase, also called Jefferson's Folly, because they thought that it was a waste of money and resources to buy that area. It nearly doubled the size of the United States at that point in history, but there was a lot of controversy at that particular point over the Louisiana Purchase. So the Lewis and Clark expedition was sent out to find out more about the area and to kind of map up the Northwest, what they called the Northwest Passage, which was passage to the Pacific along that northwest part of the United States. And I'm going to have a light issue. Just a brief one. Okay, that's good. So the area was officially recognized as the Idaho Territory in about 1863. There were a couple of reasons for the expedition other than just mapping that Northwest Territory. They were also trying to establish the United States' presence in the area so that other European powers couldn't come in and claim that area for themselves. Kind of a we were there first kind of thing. So then statehood came around in 1890. As I said before, the main draw to the area at the time was fur trapping. So the main 2 companies at the time were the Northwest Company and the Pacific Fur Company. The Northwest Company, they built their trading post called Kalispell House in 1809. And then in 1812, the Pacific Fur Company came in and built Mackenzie's Post. These were not large settlements. They were basically resupply posts for the trappers in the area. It wasn't until 1861 that Lewiston, Idaho, was established, and it became the first permanent, substantial settlement in the area. Now, the Great Depression came along in the 1929, I want to to say. That's the stock market crash. But the Great Depression hit the state particularly hard. At that point in its history, it was largely an agrarian society, and agriculture was the mainstay of the economic backbone of the state. And because of the Great Depression, the profits for farmers went way, way down. They were getting less and less. The price shot up as far as how much they were the goods were costing the people of the United States, but the farmers didn't get that profit. Their profits went, dropped into the basement. So in the modern era, Idaho has tried to diversify itself. They've tried to introduce more tourism, more science and technology, along with that agriculture, to kind of balance the state's economy a little bit better. Idaho geography and climate. Idaho is located in the Rocky Mountains. Most of its most of its population, that's the word, is located in the Snake River Plain. Snake River being one of the major water sources for Idaho. Bora Peak is the largest elevation in the state. The highest elevation in the state is what I should say, at 12,662 feet, or 3,859 meters. The three major mountain ranges, part of the Rockies there, is the Sawtooth Range, the Bitterroot Range, and the White Cloud Mountains. The climate is a combination of high altitude and Pacific Ocean, which means that the winters are typically warmer than they otherwise you would expect them to be, and the summers are a little bit cooler than you would expect them to be. Summer, the temperature ranges from about 56 to 86 Fahrenheit, which is 13.3 to around 30 degrees Celsius, and then winter it's 24 to 34, which is negative 4.4 to 1.1 degrees Celsius. Idaho, the industry in Idaho, food processing is probably the number one industry. They have several food companies: Flagship Food Group, Dickinson Frozen Foods, Lighthouse Inc., Agri Beef Company. And I put a picture of potatoes here. If you ask somebody in the United States about Idaho, they will most likely tell you that potatoes come from Idaho. About a third of the potatoes in the United States come from Idaho. The other 2/3 made up of all the rest of the states combined. So Idaho is the major producer of potatoes in the United States. As far as lumber goes, so Idaho being located in the Rocky Mountains, it has quite a lot of natural resources that are available to it, and so a lot of lumber and wood come from Idaho. There's the Boise Cascade, Idaho Forest Group, PotlatchDeltic. Those are all companies that deal with lumber and wood that are coming from Idaho. As far as manufacturing goes, Micron, maker of computer chips, HP Inc., Melaleuca Inc., those are all located in Idaho, or at least a large part of them are located in Idaho. Mining is a big concern. We have Metso, OTEC, CRH, and Freeport McMoran. Those are all large mining companies that are there in Idaho. As far as tourism, let's move on to the next, because this is where we're going to talk about tourism. Idaho has several national parks, with Yellowstone being at the top of the list. They also have Craters of the Moon volcanic region, Shoshone Falls, Bruno Dunes State Park, which is the largest sand dunes in the United States, Hells Canyon National Recreation Area. Hells Canyon is actually deeper than the Grand Canyon. Most people are familiar with the Grand Canyon here in the United States, but interestingly enough, it's not the deepest. I'd have to do some research to figure out which one is actually the deepest, but Hells Canyon is deeper than the Grand Canyon. City of Rocks is another one. Sun Valley is a big skiing destination. It was the first destination ski resort in the United States. Bald Mountain in Coeur d'Alene as well. So a lot of tourism in Idaho is built around the natural resources. So a lot of the national parks, especially Yellowstone. Yellowstone is particularly popular tourist destination. We have hiking, fishing, skiing, climbing, rafting. City of Rocks, for instance, a lot of mountain climbers like to go out there. I shouldn't say mountain climbers, rock climbers like to go out there. Rafting is a big one. The Snake River has a lot of whitewater rafting and stuff. I know that the Snake River covers quite a large. It's not that it covers a large area, but that it goes through a lot of places. And I have actually done whitewater rafting on the Snake River, but I think that was on the Wyoming side, not the Idaho side. So off-roading, and because of the geothermal activity in the state, there's a lot of hot springs in the state. Kirkham Hot Springs, for instance, Lava Hot Springs. There's a number of hot springs that are there in Idaho. If it wasn't on there, I should have put it on the trivia part. Let me check. So moving on, if you like the outdoors and you like that aspect of tourism, go to Idaho. It's a good place to get out into the outdoors. There are a lot of places in the United States like that. Okay, Idaho. This is probably my favorite portion of these particular talks, is the trivia portion, just because of the weird stuff I find out. Arco, Idaho was the first city in the United States to be powered by atomic energy. It may be the first city in the world, I'd have to double check on that one, to be powered by atomic energy. And interestingly enough, that was in 1955. Yeah. The State House, so the Capitol building in Boise, it's the only state house in the United States that's heated by underground hot springs. So it's heated by geothermal activity. Evel Knievel tried to jump Twin Falls, Idaho. Tried to jump Twin Falls in Idaho. A lot of people think that Idaho comes from a Native American word, but it doesn't. In 1860, the United States was looking for a name for what would become Colorado. And mining lobbyist George M. Willing came up with Idaho. And he said it was a Shoshone word, meaning gem of the mountains. And they found out later that it did not mean that at all. It's just some word he came up with. So they decided to call Colorado Idaho, but then they found out it wasn't a name that was actually Native American, and they dropped it. And then a few years later, in 1863, the new mining interests had been discovered in Idaho, what would become the state of Idaho, and Congress revisited the word and decided to call the place Idaho. So yeah. Idaho has 12 tornadoes per year. That's a lot more than I thought. I would have thought that Idaho would have 0 tornadoes per year, but they have around 12, which is kind of weird. The western part of the United States is not known for its tornado activity, and yet Idaho gets some tornadoes. Yeah. Idaho is the state most likely, well, I shouldn't say most likely. Idaho as a state is known to swear like a sailor, as they say, or curse like a sailor. So weirdly enough, Idahoans are strangely prone to swearing. You wouldn't think that, but yeah, there we go. Idaho has more OSHA violations than any other state. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, if I remember right. And so they're the ones that make sure that businesses are running in a safe manner. So Idaho, for some reason, they just can't keep it together, and they get cited for OSHA violations more frequently than any other state. I don't know if that's just because Idaho thinks, oh, this is fine, or if it's because there's a lot more dangerous jobs to be found in Idaho than anywhere else. And so there's a lot of concern about those kind of things. Okay, more trivia. The mayor of Wallace, Idaho has declared it the center of the universe. I don't know why he decided to do that, but apparently Wallace, Idaho is now the center of the universe. If you go there, there's a manhole cover, apparently, that they created for the spot that they've decided is the center of the universe. Might need to go there just to take a picture of it. It is illegal to give the object of your affection a box of candy that is over 50 pounds. I guess somebody decided to give their boyfriend, girlfriend, 100 pounds of chocolate, and they decided, nope, we're not having any of that. Okay. It is illegal to fish from camelback in Idaho. I don't know where these things come from. Seriously. I would expect Idaho to have 0 camels, but there you go. In Pocatello, Idaho, you have to smile. It is illegal to frown. So yeah, they don't enforce it. Okay. Okay. The Brundage Baw Tree. The Brundage Baw Tree. There's a Brundage Mountain Ski Resort. It's near McCall, Idaho. Apparently, women go up the ski lift and then they take off their bras and throw them on the tree. So yeah. It is. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to say about this one. It doesn't make any sense why you would go up a ski lift in the cold and try to take off your bra and then throw it on a tree. It is safe to make love while parked in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The police officers are not allowed to walk up to your car and knock on the window, which they can do in other places. Instead, any suspicious officer who thinks that sex is taking place must drive up from behind and honk the horn 3 times and wait approximately 2 minutes before getting out of his car to investigate. So yeah. I don't know how you signal to the officer that you're not doing anything illegal. You're just bumping uglies in the car. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know if you're just like give him a thumbs up from inside. Anyway, Dog Bark Park Inn in Cottonwood, Idaho. It is a dog-shaped bed and breakfast. And I didn't put this on here, but I should have. There is an alligator farm in Idaho. Yes, an alligator farm. Because of the hot springs that are in Idaho, there's I forget where it is. It's relatively near the southern border of Idaho. Sorry about that. Wish I could figure out. I know it's the windows behind me. I've got a light in front of me that should be balancing that out, but it doesn't seem to be working right now. Anyway, there is it's crocodiles, alligators. I forget which one, but it's near the Utah-Idaho border, and because of the hot springs that feed into that area, it keeps the water warm for the crocodiles so that they can exist in Idaho. How they keep them in that area, I imagine there's lots of fences. Anyway, that's it for Idaho. We'll be moving on to Iowa next. No, not Iowa. Illinois. Excuse me. Illinois comes before Iowa. So next week we'll be talking about Illinois. If there's any questions you'd like to find out more about Idaho, please leave your questions and comments down below. As always, have fun. Like and subscribe. Put on the bell so that you get notified, and have fun.